So Tidi, how are you doing?
Well,
You
I'm
look
cooking
good.
on time. Thank you.
You look real good. Wow.
Thank you.
Nice, nice, nice. How's the family?
Well, we thank God we're all good. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we're live now on YouTube.
hmm
So
So
we're
wishing
live
everybody
now.
a fantastic
Yeah.
2021.
So we're live now on YouTube. And sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I wish everybody a very good
Repeat it.
2021.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Same here. I'm wishing everyone same. It is my hope, my prayer that we have a far better 2021 than 2020 was, right? So,
Amen to that.
okay. So Maya is back. Maya, you want to turn on your video and great, great. So you want to turn on your video and then hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to have you join us today. Happy New Year to all of you. Like TD already said, here's me wishing everyone a fantastic 2021, a far better 2021 than 2020 was. So welcome to Startup South channel and welcome to our community. So if you're already here, we would like you to tell us that you're here. Just share in your just type in the comment. I can read it from here. Type in the comment and tell us that you're here. Tell us your name. Tell us what you do. Tell us what your location is, and I can read out as many of you that can do that very quickly in 2 minutes. I would try and read it out. So just do that very quickly for me. Just let us know you're here. The chat is open, so just use the chat room and say hello. You can also use the comments, no problems, anyone that works for you. Okay, just tell me hello and let's know that you're here. And so today we are going to be discussing ambition. We're going to try to hack ambition. Maya, I wanted to find out, is it possible to turn the orientation of your video, turn it like, instead of landscape, instead of portrait? Maya? Maya, yes, Maya,
Like this way?
I can hear you. Yes, this is better. This is better, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. I can hear you now. Awesome. So, Blessing Bassi is here. Blessing, welcome. Blessing, you didn't tell us where you're joining from and what you do. Isaac from Paris. Isaac from Paris is here. CEO, co-founder of Trek Scooters. Okay, so Isaac, it's a pleasure to have you as well. So we use up just 1 more minute and we would kick off. Just 1 more minute and I'll do the needful and we'll take off. All right. So I'm still reading. If you're here, just say, I'm still reading the messages. So just please, Philemon, it's great to be here. Yeah, great to have you as well. thinker, founder, marketing executive, joining from Lagos. Philemon, welcome. Awesome. So we don't have plenty time, and so we're going to start. But before we start, I just want to mention that, we had, okay, sorry. So I just want to mention that at some point in, yesterday, talking about ambition, you definitely need ambition. You will need to do a few things, especially you need to get a few knowledge for ambition, to back up your life ambition. And yesterday, TD, we signed a deal that would allow us give scholarship, partial scholarship to about 5 members, to next to a university, a virtual university, one of the biggest virtual universities that exists right now. So they are partnering with us to give partial scholarships to members of our community. And so I'm going to be announcing that detail after now. So I just wanted to mention that, but while that is going on, I'm going to be playing an audio that gave rise to this, an audio that gave rise to this session topic. So just give me 1 minute as I share my screen. As I share my screen and play Kola Ainur's video. I had a conversation with Kola, and Kola is one of those guys that I respect, and once in a while when I have to do some things, I just go and ask him a few questions. And so this time I went to ask him a question, and he said something that that looked this thing to me, and I said, this is something that we need to talk about because it made a lot of sense to me, but I'd like to hear what you think about it. So I'm trying to share the video. What's going on? Sorry, just 1 minute. Okay, I may not be able to share the video, but I can share the audio. So just give me 1 minute. And I said, this is something that we don't talk about because we made a lot of sense to me. But I would like to hear what you think about it. Sorry, guys. Sorry. That was a bad call. Okay. All right. Let's see. Just 1 minute, please. Okay. All right, that's it. So just give me. So you're going to hear Kola's voice now.
Hi, Uche. I had to give your question some thoughts. I think we're all trying to find those with ambition, right? And that's where as the volume of capital increases, it becomes very competitive. And so what you see is, the really good and the really ambitious guys are not necessarily going to need a lot of hand holding. They're going to build great companies anyway. So, I am personally starting to question. I mean, if the idea is to build highly scalable, highly successful, high growth businesses, Hi, Uche. I had to give your question some thought. I think we're all trying to find those with ambition, right? And that's where as the volume of capital increases, it becomes very competitive. And so what you see is, the really good and the really ambitious guys are not necessarily going to need a lot of hand holding. They're going to build great companies anyway. So, I am personally starting to question. I mean, if the idea is to build highly scalable, highly successful, high growth businesses, I really wonder if, you know, you can handhold someone and train them to build those types of businesses. I think there's a sum total of experiences, socializations, and backgrounds that sort of prepare folks for that level of execution. And so, I'm really, yet to be convinced that there's a lot that can be done by way of training. I mean, I think that if you train, you have to just take it that you are seeding the future without any necessary, without your success being measured by the investment outcomes, right? Because you're also deploying capital. And so, in other words, the person that sows the seed is not necessarily going to be the person that will harvest the crops, if you get what I mean. And that's a difficult thing because it makes it very tough to build sustainable business models around this. But this is my current thesis based off of my own experience. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Um, I mean, when I look at my own portfolio, the best performing companies in our portfolio, you know, um, are not always aligned with the companies that we've offered the most help to. I mean, in terms of handholding, yes, maybe we'll give access to our network and help with certain things, but you know, there are companies that we've done a lot of handholding with, but they still struggle. And so I don't quite see the correlation, if you get what I mean. Hi.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I believe you all heard the sound. Um, Tilly, you had the sound. Maya, you had the sound. You had caller speak, and I think that that's a. Did you hear the sound, please, Maya?
You're cutting out. Can you hear me?
Maya, did you hear the sound? You heard caller's voice. Huh? I can't hear.
How you doing?
Sorry?
Uche, yes, I did. Maya, how's it?
Tidi, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. For some reason I can't hear. For some reasons I can't hear myself, but I can't hear you. But
Well, I can hear you, and
if you can hear me, that's fine. That's all that matters.
I heard Maya for a split
So
second.
let me just, while I figure out why I can't hear you back, just 1 minute. I'll figure out. But this is what gave rise to this whole session. Maya, I'm going to let you talk about yourself. I think I know what the issue was. Okay. I hope you can still hear me.
I can hear you. Maya's
I
on
know what
video,
the issue is.
and she's on mute.
Yes, I can. So go ahead. I think I know. I've solved the problem, so I know what the issue was. So
Maya
Tidi,
is on mute.
Maya is on mute. Maya, you're on mute. Can you unmute, please? Okay, I guess she was having issues.
Yep.
Yes, I've admitted her back. Okay, Maya, you have to unmute.
Okay, I think my Sir, sorry, I've switched devices and hopefully you can hear me better and see me better now. Does this work?
Okay, great.
Finally,
Great.
how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Exceedingly well. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Good to see you as well.
All right. So Maya, you had caller's voice, right?
Some, yes.
Oh, you had some. Wow. Okay. Should I play it again?
No, we're 20 minutes in, Iche.
Then, okay. So the idea is, do you think, Maya, we would like you to talk about yourself. I wouldn't want to. We're talking about ambition here. There is this suggestion that, I mean, Africa is seeing a lot of deals and investments, right? But a lot of people will say that it's still nothing compared to what is possible, right? My first question to you, and I'd like you to answer using I'd like you to start answering by telling us a bit of your story, because it's part of your story that we want to be able to hook this on. So do you think from your experience so far that there is a dearth of ambitious people in Africa?
Absolutely not. I don't think anywhere else that I've lived in the world I've seen as high of a concentration of people who have side hustles and have committed to succeeding despite all odds. It's like you go to the Western world and people are struggling with 1/50th of the challenges that anyone who decides to pursue entrepreneurship and who decides to pursue building something unique here has to grapple with, whether it be from the underdeveloped infrastructure to the constantly shifting policies with regulators to everything in and between. And as far as my story, starting way back, despite my very American accent, I am half Nigerian, half Ogunian, and grew up in the US, worked at JP Morgan, private equity research briefly, and then decided, because I was very much committed to tech in Africa and also just understood the experience of the entrepreneurs even in my own family and what they had to grapple with growing up. And it compelled me to want to dedicate as much resources and as much capacity as I could to these very special people that I had never found anywhere else in the world. And thus in 2014, at the ripe old age of 23, I launched Ingressive Advisory. And we were able to work with over 50 companies ranging from the Y Combinator's, Techstars, Google's, GitHub's, et cetera, assisting them to enter the Nigerian market. And what's interesting is people, have this wild perception of Africa portrayed by the Western media. And as soon as anyone steps foot on the ground, like there's a reason that 100% of every investment tour, of every client engagement we did, investments were made on ground, 100%. Every time someone came here, an investment was made. And the reason for that is because not only is the opportunity incredible here, not only is the soil as fertile as anywhere else you can go in the world, but the business opportunity and the business landscape is comparable. And so, and people come here and they see the living, like the excitement and the energy of entrepreneurship in Nigeria at large. And so, yeah, that's really the root of why I launched Ingressive Capital. So then in 2017, we, with a number of our clients who were able to see the growth and the development in just a few years, every year since 2015, 16, there's been a 2x in the amount of venture capital dollars coming into the ecosystem. And it's predominantly investors from around the world. And it's because of how incredible the opportunities are here. And people are saying, I don't think I can get returns like that in my home country anymore. I need to start looking to the continent on these people. These business entrepreneurs that are building on the continent, they're not like anywhere else. And I think people are really understanding that. And so that's where we started Ingressive Capital. And I'm glad that we did. And I'm glad that our clients really believed in us, because we've had a number of exciting things happen in the last year, from the exit of our very first portfolio company, our very first investment we ever made, Shola, that Paystack, which just not only does that reaffirm the opportunity that exists in the continent, but it also reaffirms that you don't have to go to these international schools and work at blah, 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 and have this connection to government in order to succeed. You can start from anywhere. You can start from scratch. You can start with just a laptop, just a little bit of data in your back room. And I think that is going to be the prevailing story and the theme of the next decade on the continent.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you, Maya. I'm going to take a pause here, and I'm going to ask the audience to tell me in their own words, right, what they think ambition is, and then I have a poll that I'm just going to ask them to go do. So everyone, if you're listening to me, there's a question in the chat. It says, "What's ambition in your own words?" Please, because we need to have an understanding of what people are thinking. So because we don't have plenty time, if you think you want us to get so much more from TD and Maya, you should be responding to this very quickly so that we can get back to them. I need TD to do something to say something to us before we go back to this whole conversation. So please, what's ambition in your own words? Just quickly, just type it in, and I will read out a few of them that I can. And while you're doing that, there's a poll. There's a link to a poll that you should just go, just vote. And that question says, do you think ambition has any impact in business success? And so, TD, do you think ambition has any impact in business success?
Well, let's go back to what started this conversation, which is what Kola was trying to explain. And I'm actually, funnily enough, after I heard it, I'm mentally going through my founders in the portfolio and doing the math. I'm quite sure, Maya, you must have done the same. What Kola was saying is this, okay? I'm an angel investor. And the premise or the thesis of angel investing is that you find ambitious founders and then you handhold them, you give them your connections, you give them some money, you coach them to scale to success. That's sort of the premise on which we invest. And what Kola was saying is, when we now look back though, okay, those that have the privilege like Maya, Kola and others, and to have 10, 15, 20 founders in your portfolio, what we are finding, okay, is there are some founders that you spend an inordinate amount of time hand-holding, but those are not necessarily the best performers. Kola's assertion is when he then looked at it and says, well, I'm spending time, connections, and everything on this guy, he's getting to 50%. I'm not spending as much time on this guy, he's getting to 100%. What's the difference between them? Because they're both in my portfolio. The difference is ambition. So that's what Kola was trying to point out, is if ambition is the fundamental difference between the two, then the ambitious ones, okay, don't need the hand holding, okay, because they're going to find their way with or without you. Just like imagine telling a 23-year-old fresh out of JP Morgan that, look, are you crazy? You're going to go to Africa and do what? Start a fund to invest? Do they even have startups in Africa? Now, that's the old advisory. I know what's good for you. JP Morgan is a solid institution. They've done it for generations. You can become a vice president. I mean, someone would say, look, you can, go all the way. And in today's parlance, they'll say, take a look at Kamala Harris. She's gone through institutions. So trying to be that kind of pushing you in the way you want to go. But when you look, okay, fundamentally, I'm glad Maya just talked about Shola and Ezra. Okay. Right from the beginning, I talked to, it's the same caller that was telling me, they said what they want to build is a stripe of Africa. That's ambition, man. So that's what makes the difference, is the point that is being made by caller. And those of us who think because we give them 10K here, 20K there, and by the way, I have this guy, I can make up this phone call for you. Oh, by the way, if you're going to do your market, you really need to, providing advice and guidance. What he's trying to say is we need to respect ourselves and understand that our input into their success is not really, okay, at the quantum that we believe it is. So it's a different angle to your thought about ambition, but that's what I think Kola was trying to get at.
Yeah, Chidi, so you're absolutely spot on, because the entire focus of this conversation is how do we find, assuming there are not much of them, right? How do we find more of those ones who are identified or labeled as ambitious? What are the ingredients that make them that? So I believe that, Maya, you've identified ambitious people in the course of your investing, right? So my question would be, how are you able to identify what were the things you saw that made you say, this is an ambitious person and I want to work with him, right? Because we have founders listening to us, right? I don't know if ambitious is something people can acquire. I don't know if it's something people can learn by training, which is the other point Kola was making. So Maya, over to you. I'd like to know, what are those things you've seen? Tidi, I also asked you this question too. I'd like to know, what are those things you've seen in founders that makes you say, this person is ambitious, this person is not. I'm going to invest in this person, I'm not going to invest in this person. Maya, you're on mute.
So first I would say that I think ambition is a byproduct of a few source inputs. And I think those source inputs include purpose. I think that it's nearly impossible. Say if I were doing something that was outside of my own purpose and what I feel my life's mission would be, I don't think I would be very ambitious and committed to it. So I think it's really at the core of finding that thing that keeps you up at night. What are you sitting in your bed at 3 a.m. thinking about? What are you researching in your off time that you're so curious about, you really want to know? I think it roots from a curiosity. And I think that at its core, it comes with critical analysis and a sense of agency. If you don't, at your heart, believe that you have the capacity to make change and to do things that can impact a great amount of people, what is ambition and why even would you cultivate it? So I think that there are a number of things, and we really take it for granted, this tech bubble that we've developed and this exposure that we developed. These things actually, I don't think are entirely intuitive. I think that they're learned, and especially when you have a government that's let me not say anything, but when you have a government that is not necessarily non-supportive. When you have a government that's not necessarily supportive of youth, entrepreneurship, and the pursuit of technology and advancement at all costs, then it can make it seem all the more difficult when those ideals are not perpetuated and supported by the government and the seeming leadership that exists. And so I think those things are fundamental, like curiosity, sense of purpose, like really understanding this person lives, sleeps, breathes this concept. It's so deep within their veins that they're meant to do this. Because entrepreneurship is a lonely road and it's a long time, and there are a lot of working until 5 o'clock in the mornings, and unless you're so deeply committed to something, it's really not going to happen. So I do think ambition is a byproduct. Now to answer your question about founders and what we really look for, I mean, those exact things that, you know, with Shola and Ezra specifically, they had such and in addition, humility, being able to take and receive feedback, but being still committed to the end goal. There was never a time when I've had a conversation with Shola where he started with, I already know that, you know, he's always listening, always pensive, always ready to take in new data points in order to develop the product. And really, if you're building technology, that's the core of it. You are building something for somebody else. And thus you need to know the other person so well, so deeply in all of their activities, their preferences, their wants, the things they dislike so deeply at a core level that you can build the perfect product for them. 10 times, 100 times better than any alternative. And that takes a real type of empathy and a real type of humility and insight, and also curiosity. So those things, as well as the experience. And some people think it has to be, you know, the professional banking, this school, type of background. But I want to see something where somebody came into a role, they used critical analysis to build something out that hadn't been developed before. They weren't handheld. They literally just took leadership, and it doesn't have to be in a former role, or like a, you know, they became the VP of this or what have you. It could be even a side project, just somebody taking unique initiative and being able to lead something themselves. And also, though, Ezra and Shola had actually built something in their space before. They've worked in financial services and in the technology space before. And so having that in-market experience, either directly being employed or in some way figuring out how to go online and find it there, that is really essential. And of course, the problem that they were pursuing, Stripe is not a small company. They have a massive total addressable market. You know, so does Paystack. So do these other companies that we're investing in. We're really looking at their TAM. There are some great products, but they're catering to a tiny subset of people, or it's only relevant in one city center. We want to find big, hairy, scary problems that nearly everyone on the continent has. And those are some of the things that we look for in the companies we invest.
Okay, Maya, thank you. Tidi, are there things that, are there additional things you want to add that Maya hasn't covered?
Well, Maya's done an excellent job. I mean, the good news is she herself is a case in point of ambition. So abstracting oneself is let me see if I can abstract a bit higher. The first is around the fact that ambitious people tend to set goals they don't share. They have the goals, but it's not for public consumption. The crazy thing is, like Maya, they're always willing to take risks. And you can see that in their pattern of operation. Okay, they're high risk takers. What I love about them, though, is they're always opening themselves to new ways of thinking. You know, why did they do that? You know, you can always see the light bulbs. I remember a conversation I had with her at the American Embassy, and I know the light bulb went on in something I'd said to her, and you can see that. But again, they're focused on execution. Ambitious people are always, okay. Another point actually is they don't compete with other people. They're competing with themselves. I don't know if you really get that. The competition is not, you know, it's, can I be a better me? You know, and the last one is they really surround themselves with other ambitious people.
Nice. And that brings me to the next question that I have, and which is, and I think Maya mentioned it a bit, but I want some expansion on that, right? Maya, do you believe that environment affects ambition? And let me, Tini's laughing. So Maya, over to you, and Tini will tell us why he's laughing after now. So Maya, okay. You're mute.
So I think that's a complicated one, because, you know, it's easy to be ambitious when the lights works, when your internet works, when you have, nice roads, nice infrastructure. Getting loans, incorporating a business takes a day. It's easy to pursue your ambitions and even things that, are maybe outside your life's purpose when you live in an environment like that. Like seeing how entrepreneurship has materialized in the Western world versus how it is here. You really have to be so committed to something that you're willing to almost die for it here. And that really, I think that can stifle ambition because you are constantly on a day-to-day basis faced with challenges that say, no, you can't, no, you shouldn't. And I think those no, you can't, no, you shouldn't are less frequent in other markets. So yeah, I would say in an element it can curb it, but similar to what we had to or what I had to grapple with in starting out the business, like not only does nobody have any connections on either side of my family, like grew up in rural Minnesota, farm, trailer park, all that kind of stuff. On my dad's side, no connections professionally, had to start from scratch, building from scratch, taking KKs to meetings, blah, 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 before I could raise any money. So really starting ground up. It's hard in the beginning, but if you're committed to something and you keep your North Star, you have a solid North Star, eventually these things work out. So I would say it's harder. It's certainly harder, and it takes out the faint-hearted. But if you're truly committed to your North Star, you'll get around it. You'll figure it out.
Okay. Tidi, over to you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. No, the reason I smiled was I don't know if I can't remember the exact quote, but I think it was attributed to Arsene Wenger when he was talking about Lewis Hamilton, the fact that talent is universal, opportunity is not. And that's really what came to mind when you were asking about, does environment impact ambition?
Okay.
Yes, it does, is the short answer to that. But that's what makes the ambitious, how do I put it, exceptional. Because in spite of, they overcome all of those environmental hazards that others fall prey to, and that's what makes them shine. So it's the fact that you've got this guy in a t-shirt that just did a $200 million deal. I mean, how is that possible? Here's this guy, he's got 7 PhDs from 14 universities and, et cetera, et cetera. All the mental images that our particular environment is pushing on people doesn't work. So that's what and what Maya was saying earlier, I think we need to refocus and bring back, and it, because it's very important. Simply because I see its manifestation, unfortunately, in Nigeria a lot in religion, which is a bit unfortunate. And that is the concept of self-being, a sense of purpose, why I am here, okay? The understanding that you must be here for a universal good, or else, you cannot do anything, consistently over a sustainable period. But if you follow the laws of harmony, okay, that unites us at that, should I say the word, spiritual level, then you find this sense of purpose, and then you find like minds. Okay, the reason Maya and I smiled, and we know it's about founders. Okay, we had that conversation from day one, and we know why we're here. We're here because we got these guys, they're building an amazing future, okay, and we're here to help. That's it. That's the MO. And those of us who have that signal, and it's the same with all sense of purpose. Once you discover this is what I'm here to do, then it becomes not really effortless, but it's the only word I can bring, because it flows. It's not, you still have to work. I mean, geez, I read, but you find a flow as we're finding in this conversation. I don't know if that makes sense. Maya, what are your thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I agree. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah.
All right. Maya.
There's a delay. There's a delay. You need to recognize there's a delay. So just wait. Please go ahead, Maya. And then Uche, wait.
Okay. As I was saying, yeah, I certainly agree with you. And I don't think that we can push the point enough that, yeah, it is really, truly about the founders. And it is really, truly about the people who stick in the ground, stay committed to their North Star, and keep pursuing their end goal. Yeah, I think, and while you were mentioning that initial quote, I also thought maybe ambition is universal, but access is not. And that's really what distinguishes. Because I was thinking about in Nigeria, am I seeing a dearth of ambition? Is that why there's, less billion-dollar businesses here than elsewhere? But no, I don't think, I even think there's an abundance, more so than elsewhere, of ambition. Everybody here thinks they can, do X, Y, and Z. But I think the stifler and what's really hindering the growth is that access. And the more that we can take the resource that we have, and the more that we collaborate as an ecosystem, the more we'll see that ambition materialize into what it should be and not get stagnated and stopped.
So there's your answer, Uche.
Awesome. So let me. I hope you can still hear me. But let me just say that. Let me just ask this question, Maya. Given your background, grew up in the States, and back to Goldman Sachs. Did I get that correctly? I mixed it up. Huh?
JP Morgan.
Oh, okay, great. So at what point in your life did you decide that this is what you want to do? This is the path you want to take? At what point in your life did you take that decision? This is the path I want to take. Was it before you got into college or high school? What exactly led you to this path?
I mean, I think all the time when like the sort of 10-year overnight is it's always easy to look back and when hindsight's 20/20 and say, yeah, I always knew it was from the beginning. But I think that I had a general idea of just a deep commitment to entrepreneurship and scaling entrepreneurship in West Africa, and then eventually Greater Africa, and then understanding that the issue was not the capacity and the intelligence and the savviness of the entrepreneur. It was the inputs, the resources, and the access to resources that really was the limitation. Seeing that in my family growing up, seeing that in different markets where I did research. So initially, I thought it was from the regulatory side, that if we unlocked the government systems, and if I focused on the regulation side of things, then I could I could help entrepreneurship and access more rapidly. And then I did the Cornell pre-law program, did a bunch of legal internships, and then I really realized, particularly in emerging markets, that private sector drives industry. Private sector also drives, as much as they're encumbered and hindered by government, the private sector really drives the society. And so at the core of that private sector growth is access to capital and finance. So really understanding, if I want to give the best turbo boost to entrepreneurship, if I really want to help scale it, at the core of it, it really starts with access to capital and access to network.
Gotcha. Uche is back.
Go ahead, TD. You wanted to say something? I'm here. TD, go ahead. I'm here.
You had a question.
Okay, great. I thought you wanted to say something, so that's why I paused. So Maya, that's great. The next question was actually going to also be for you, and it was going to be, aside from the things you've talked about in terms of what you look out for from an ambition, from the ambition perspective. What are the other things that your organization look out for in the founders you invest? Can you share, because we have founders here listening, Ingressive Capital, for instance.
So just you cut out a small bit, but you said you're curious about what we're looking for in founders that we invest in.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So in general, we look for at least one technical co-founder. We looked for products targeting a large total addressable market. Like if you were to capture 10%, 15% of the market, you could reach $1 billion in valuation. So at least like $100 million in revenue plus. We look for people with experience in the sector, either directly through their professional achievements or who have sort of like on the side from a hustle, or maybe even grown up in the communities that they're specifically targeting. We look at post-traction businesses. So we're not paper napkin investors. There are a number of them in the ecosystem. That's not us. We look for businesses that have launched, you're generating revenue, you have recurring users, you have metrics that we can assess and say, people really love this and they keep using it. That's really important. And retention, daily active users, weekly active users, engagement, these metrics are very, very important to us. We also look at the alignment of the co-founder team. So we want to see an operator, somebody who has experience in the actual execution side, as well as the strategy and ideas person, coupled with the technical person. Because if you're building software, you have to have a little bit of all those three things. And then of course, somebody who can actually do the sales. It's particularly for enterprise businesses. It's so deeply important to have somebody who can communicate with the enterprise customer that you want to sell to, not only to iterate and build on the product, but also to actually close the deal. We look at, so in a macro level, we look at the key contributors to GDP in the countries where we invest, so Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Egypt. So we look at the GDP, the key contributors to GDP, and then which ones are growing within that. And those are the sectors that we specifically target. And TD, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Uche.
Seems his internet is down.
Yeah.
We're taking over.
Well, I'll add a bit, just to help. In our case, I invest through, oh my God, I've forgotten how many different vehicles now. So excuse me, but let me put it this way. Let me speak for the Diaspora Angel Network, the Lagos Angels Network, and of course my own syndicate. We also look for one more thing, and that's coachability, which is why I was very interested in Kola's comments, because one of our critical assessment pieces is, can we really work with it? Is this person coachable? Will they listen? And but will they still have a mind of their own? So it's not about teachable, because we have that, and I'm not trying to teach you. I'm just trying to sort of be a guide. And we found that to be a big difference in those we've worked well with, and those we haven't been able to do so well with. So that's the only other addition. But aside from that, you're bang on. Oh, tech enabled for me.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. So looks like we've lost Uche. So I guess that leaves, I don't know if, I guess it's still streaming, so we can just have a conversation.
Great. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think knowing we've got founders in the audience, I think what we should do is have it really, this is the beginning of the chat as to what exactly they should be doing to get to funding. Because I tend to separate them into two, the way I work now is I separate founders I meet into two parts. There are those that I consider to be investment worthy. Investment worthiness doesn't mean you're bad. If I say you're not investment worthy, it just means you don't fit my thesis. Okay. It means you're not what I'm looking for. And there may be other people interested, but there's, and I try to get to a no on those very, very quickly. In the ideal, within 36, 48 hours, where it's not a fit, sorry. I try to do that quickly. But then if you do match the thesis and you're investment worthy, the next thing is to find out if you're even investment ready. And that's sort of the next step. And we go through a whole protocol. I think it'll be useful for them to hear how you take those first two steps. Then we can talk about when we do decide to invest, what we do. But first is, finding them and deciding if you want to spend the time, because typically it takes a while to commit. How do you do that?
Yeah, so similar. So typically we try to have 100% of companies that we invest in apply on the portal, just because we track data over time that can help inform our insights. Like if we miss a deal, why did we miss it? Do we need to adjust our strategy? Do we need to adjust our thesis? So we have them apply on the website, and then that is an inbound list of maybe 40 questions. And and we like to keep it objective as well. It's not like I know this person, so they're going to go get on to the next round, or like, this person's friends with so-and-so. So it's not that at all. So we totally masked, totally blank, and as anonymous as possible when we're assessing the company's performance and their traction to see if the opportunity is relevant for us. So yeah, we have them apply to the website, go through a list of questions ranging from their sector to the team, to where they're incorporated, to how much they've raised, to their traction, to how long they've been in business, to their equity breakdown. Because that's the other thing is we're really cognizant of cap tables. Mm-hmm. As in, we don't want to invest in a company that's maybe, has one investor, they've done a pre-seed and they've already given away 40 to 60% of their business or something. So also founders, watch out. And if you're raising your pre-seed or seed funding, you shouldn't give away more than, say, 20% of your business. You want to make sure that you're still majority owner by Series A, ideally by Series B. And so those are some of the things that we really pay attention to. And if the company gets past that, and it sort of checks out for our diligence criteria, our initial diligence criteria, we have a venture partners call. So then we get on a call with all of our VPs, and then we do sort of a rapid fire of questions for the founder. If they make it through that, we might have one follow-up, and then we go into crafting our investment memo.
Okay. So, Uche, while you were away, are you here?
Yes, Tidi.
While you were away, I said, since we had
founders, yes, I am.
Since we had founders in the audience, we should talk about the investment process and how investors engage with founders. So Maya, I went first, and then Maya's just taken us through the assessment process for finding founders, with the hope that it'll help them in terms of what we're looking for and how the process works. I trust that was useful for those who've been listening. If you have access to the chat, we'll be more than happy to take questions.
Yeah, Tidi, so I'm going to just check. Thank you, Tidi. That was awesome. I'm still trying to ensure that I have better internet, but I'm looking at the comments, and I wanted to know if there's a question. Guys, if there's a question, you can please ask so that we can take it. Otherwise, we'll just wind this down. Sorry, I'm still joining. I'm still trying to join with my video.
No worries.
Okay, so Tidi, thank you. There's no question from the audience. I think it's worth it. It's been brilliant so far. I'm just going to say thank you so much to Maya for joining this call, and Tidi, thank you so much as well. Okay, there's a question. Are you interested? Maya, there's a question for you. Please, guys, if you have a question, you need to put it in very quickly because we're going to be rounding up now. Okay? So please just do me the favor, put in your question very quickly, please. So Maya, there's a question for you. It says, are your interests limited to tech only?
Tech-enabled businesses. So that means that you leverage technology to scale rapidly. It doesn't require one input for one output, or manufacturing for every single product that's sold to the consumer. You can build something one time and then sell it a million times, a billion times, similar to the Facebook or the Uber or even the Paystack. You don't have to build a whole new Paystack infrastructure for every transaction or every new customer that you have. We're looking for companies that leverage technology to scale rapidly. You can have some offline component, but at the core of it, you're leveraging technology to scale rapidly.
Okay, so let me check. I hope, Kiaru Foods, I hope you heard that. Let me see if there's any other question. But Tidi, please, can you do a recap on how to get? Oh dear. Okay, so John is saying, Tidi, please, can you do a recap on how to get funding? That our network is fluctuating. Tidi, did you get that? Hear me?
You're breaking up, but I think you were asking something about how to get funding.
Oh there. Someone is saying that you should please do a recap on how to get funding. The network was fluctuating. Did you hear that?
Yes, I
Okay.
think I did. On how to get funding. What I talked you through was our process, and then Maya also talked you through hers. But in both cases, it starts with with an application on the website, because we practice transparency and objectivity. So you have to go through fixed criteria. That's why my son hasn't got funding from us yet.
That's okay. That's nice. Someone else says, how can we get Maya? Okay, this is from Trek Scooters. It says they passed the pre-seed stage. How can we get TD and Maya to a meeting to discuss their business, essentially? So, but I think TD, that's what you just answered, isn't it? So Maya, you want to add to that?
To get us to discuss our own business. Just to make sure I understand the question, as you cut out a little.
My understanding is they want to know how to engage. They're a business with traction and they want to know how to engage. At least that's what I thought I heard. Oh.
Okay, hello? I think I'm back. Hello, can you guys hear me? back.
Are you back?
Yes, I think I'm back. Okay. I think the question was asking about how to get access to us and get funding and how our businesses work. And so I'll say literally on our website, www.ingressivecapital.com, as well as if you follow our Instagram page, it literally tells you exactly what we're looking for, and you can understand in the application process. There's no trickery or anything hidden. It's super explicit. It's literally there. So if you go there and you read the type of businesses, and I strongly, strongly recommend this for anyone, for all of those on the call who are about to raise funding, I strongly recommend the number one thing you need to do before you reach out to anyone is look on their website and do preliminary research to ensure that they're the right type of investor for you, because it also shows, that's a data point for them. It shows to do research and think critically before you jump into something. So make sure to do your own research to understand these things before going out to raise funding.
Uche, your line is so crappy, it's untrue. Maybe it's mine. Maya, can you hear me? 'Cause I can't hear Uche.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so Uche, it's you. You're bad.
So,